Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mark with Beyond the Struggle podcast. I am here today with my brother Henry. Henry, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. How you doing,
I'm
Marco?
doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, so we are going to start this new series and this new topic. I think we're going to call it Brothers Beyond the Struggle is what I really was like hoping we could do. We're going to do a little series and we're going to get some topics, and maybe you guys could help us get some topics together, and we could talk about them. You know, if you guys, once you guys get to see this video, you leave some comments in the sections below and let us know what you think that you'd like to talk about. You know, obviously faith-based and anything about addiction, because we are non-professional professionals, right? So what I wanted to talk about this time was about addictive personalities. That's what I wanted to talk about, and get your opinion on that. That's what I wanted to do. So I think one of the things is not noticing, to start it off with, is not, you know, when we give up one addiction for another, a lot of times we don't notice that we're giving up that addiction for the other, if that makes sense, you know. I think when we jump into it, we're jumping into something that overtakes us just as bad, you know. And like I said before, you know, I had talked about it a little bit about, you know, for me, it was gambling, you know what I mean? It was a huge part, of my life, you know, bigger than I wanted it to be. And a lot of times people get into that, whether it be shopping or something else, you know, it could be anything. It could be any form of addiction. It don't have to seem bad, but, um, you know, it that's the problem, is sometimes it don't seem bad and we justify it, like shopping, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. For me, for any kind of topic, I think the best place you can come off of a topic is probably off of your own personal experiences.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to speak on somebody else's experiences. So, you know, for me, it always have to revert back to what I went through pertaining to uh the same topic that you're on is what did you say it's called?
We're talking about addictive personality.
Addictive personalities. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mine started at a young age, like that 13, um, marijuana sales, stuff like that. And then, you try to fix one thing and you just develop another issue.
Right.
And through my life, that's what I found too, is gambling was my last one. I'm sure there's something else coming, but as for right
Yeah.
now, yeah, gambling was the last one.
Well, and that's the crazy part, is because I think, like, you know, that it's what's kind of, you know, and this, I'm just learning this now, you know, after 20 years of, you know, being clean, you know what I mean? That I'm just learning this now, that it's just as dangerous as using, you know what I'm
It
saying?
is.
Like it's if not more,
Yeah.
you know, be honest with you, you know, that's how I feel about it. Like, it's, if it's not more dangerous, because the innocence is there. You know, when you're using, you feel the dirtiness. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel dirty. You know it's wrong. You know the difference is wrong. So I give that up. I start gambling. I'm having fun. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You know, I even, for a hot minute, shopping was for me. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, and then I go through these phases in my life where I'm like, oh, well, you know, I didn't have nothing as a kid. You know what I'm saying? And I'm blaming it on that. But in reality, it's because I'm not getting high and I'm used to doing what the heck I want to do.
Feeling the desires of the flesh.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where I think of a lot of it comes from, to talk about a topic about these different addictions, and may it be marijuana, cocaine, meth, shopping, gambling, pornography, sex, whatever addiction that revolve. I think the core issue is the heart. Where the heart stands. May not be a topic everybody's ready to talk about, but it's the truth. And until you deal with that heart issue, then you're always gonna revolve some sort of different addiction, some sort of different addiction of personality, something that you're just not happy with at any time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And it's like, I think we have to train our minds and our hearts to learn, you know, differently. You know what I mean? Because I think, you know, as we always talk about, you know, it's the same thing we're talking about, like when you're in the flesh, you know what I mean? You're always doing the same thing repetitively. You've done the same thing for 30 years. So if you have 10 years sobriety and you're 40 years old, you know what I mean? You've been doing this for 20 years, you know, or 15 years in this just negative behavior. And then all of a sudden you come out of it and you don't see the harm behind it. So you just jump right into it. And, like you said, for me, that was one of the behaviors I had. I jumped right into gambling, and it wasn't an intentional thing, but I always justified my actions with something. When I did feel guilty, I always was able to justify my actions. And it was like, oh, my bills are paid. I got money put away, or, you know what I mean? Like when I felt ugly about it, it was like that. But, in your addiction, you didn't do that because you knew it was wrong.
Yeah. It's definitely a progression thing, obviously, it's always that's how it is with me with a lot with every issue I've had in my life. It's always a progression. It never started out full blown blasting all kinds of money every week. It started out innocent, going up there with just a little bit of money, and then everything just progressively gets worse.
Yeah.
That's what I find with myself. It was never just anything, the drugs addiction, all the other addictions that I had, never none of it started out full blown blasted out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a progression. You start off innocently, do a little bit here, a little bit there, and then
Yeah.
eventually it gets to a point where you just can't where it's uncontrollable, you
Yeah.
know? That's the issue, and I've seen a lot of these places when I went to rehab myself, where they're always addressing the issue at hand, whether it be methamphetamines, whether it be coke, whether it be alcohol, you're band-aiding it,
Yeah.
and I think there's a much bigger issue than that because here I am 20 some years into my recovery, but still fighting other addictions. You know, I think if we get to the core issue sooner than later, you could deal with all the issues, at one time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I think learning how to find stuff, like even for people that are out there, like, we have friends, that are come out of addictions, and people that are listening that come out of addiction, to find healthy things to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think that that's a huge one, that they don't tell you in recovery. They tell you to stay clean, and when you're feeling the temptation to do this and that. But I think they don't tell you how to reprogram your brain to do healthy stuff, and that it's okay not to have to, oh, well, alcohol wasn't my thing, so I'm going to have a few drinks here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that was me
Um,
for a long time, those that I know of, you know what I mean? I didn't do meth, so I thought it was okay to drink, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Though alcohol never bit me like that, but it was coming, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah,
I,
definitely.
I, I have we have a friend. We both have a friend that um, that's his thing. He was like, alcohol was never my thing, but every time I drink, I did cocaine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
so that's you just never know, and it sucks to say, but we were blessed that we never, it was like, I've been drunk enough to where I was like, oh, okay, I could have probably relapsed, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But I never had the desire, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there was that justification again, you know what I mean? Oh, I didn't use while I was drunk, or passed out, or feeling any type of way. But, or I never got drunk and surrounded myself around it. That was my favorite one. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I didn't find myself drunk and wake up in a crack house or nothing.
yeah.
Um,
That's the way it always starts, innocent and fun. We always try to doctor up our addictions with the word fun. People revolve around that word fun, or because I did it, it's okay for my kids to do it.
yeah,
And we just pass on our problems to our kids too,
yeah.
you know.
I always feel like I always do. Ever since I started noticing this kind of stuff, I look back on some of the stuff, and then now I realize, and this is just, when I say this is just recently for me. You know what I mean? Like literally, like ever since I started reading the word, to be honest with you, like it started opening my eyes to like these other addictions. And I shared it on here about, me having a few drinks here or there. And I'm like, I wanted to give that up. I didn't feel right being on here
Mm,
telling people, how to live better and how to stay clean and sober, when I'm like, I justify having a drink here and there. Like, nah, that's not fair. You know what I mean? It's like, I always find myself now reading is like, I find myself finding all those little in between lines type of things. Like everything I've ever indulged in, I always got to go that next level. Like even when I bought my lowrider, like it was like, I got to do this. Like, what do you mean you got to? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I now I see these things now.
yeah,
It's like this. What is important to you? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like when we get sobriety, for myself, like when I get sobriety, I'm like, I look at it like I'm clean. I'm good.
mm,
I don't have the desire to get high. No, you're not. You're the furthest thing from good. You're the most fragile person on the shelf right there. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah, yeah, but then that's the thing about when you bring up the word, bring up the reading thing. And that might be a topic a lot of people, I guess, if they're on your show by now, that they understand that it is a faith-based program. And so faith is what's going to be spoken about, especially whenever I'm on here. And I found that with myself, every time I've been to jail, every time I've been to prison, I go to jail. And the same thing with a lot of addictions is that we leave the addiction at the door and we walk into jail, we walk into prison. And that's where I found Christ, was in Jesus, it was in jails and prisons. And then as soon as I leave jail and prison, I pick up my addiction, which I left at the door, whichever one it may be at that time, so um, it's a much bigger topic when we get into that. I think we're going to do that next week or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know if this ain't live though, so you
No.
can I edit that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll leave it in there. And I think, like I said, it is a good thing. Like I know for me, for like even the reading part, we talking a little bit about that. And I would love to sit back and say again, it was a coincidence, but it wasn't. You
No,
know what I'm saying? Like
never is.
coming, what are we, nobody's counting, right? I watched it, just to touch on that. I watched the episode the other day of somebody on YouTube, and he was saying, why do you even watch your clean days? Like, it shouldn't matter, right? You're going to be clean forever.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
So I thought I always watch these guys in the clean stuff, and I'm like, that one made sense to me. Like, why do we always, because we want praise,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We want praise for staying clean and sober, but I like to do it for myself because I like to inspire others. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons. But so for us, what do we got? We got 26 days. We'll have a year, no gambling.
Yep. Yep. That's a beautiful thing too.
We're going to find somewhere to go get a chip from. And you can bet on that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. I don't see nothing wrong with having a date on it, and
Nah.
that's the same thing when it comes to even what we got to be careful when we talk about reading and this and this and this, because it's real easy to go from reading in relationship to religion. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's the spooky part, is sometimes we could take it too far.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the devil's trips. You know what I mean? The devil puts these stumbling blocks in front of us. So when we get to reading, that we take it too far. You know what I mean? And we start turning it into religion, just like in the Old Testament.
There's that addictive personality.
There's that addictive personality. Yeah, yeah. Wanted to go too far with
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? And you got to. It's all by grace. It's not by works.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I got to remind myself every morning, that it doesn't matter what I do today, that it's all grace.
Yeah. It's in his time.
That's right. That's right.
It's in his time. And I've learned that now lately too. And I told you, we spoke about that recently, I would say, without exaggerating, like the last month, I've probably learned that, like, everything's at his will, and I was just talking to my wife today about that. I was telling you before we got on here. That was one of the things that we talked about is, we were talking about reading the Bible, and I was telling her, she's like, babe, when I read it, it's like, and I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be like that. And I explained to her, about kind of, I know you use the weights, when you talk about it. Like for me, I always talk about the milk and the baby. You don't, when your baby's born, you don't just go ahead and pour the gallon of milk into the bottle and give them the bottle, right? You got to wait 12 months before you give them start getting them something different. So I'm like, that's what I told her. I'm like, the best way I could describe it to you, baby, is like, I did the same thing. I'm reading, and it's like, and then I'm skipping stuff that I'm like, I can't even pronounce these, pick next page. And now I'm learning, but now it's like you get to a point after so long that you start actually wow, you know what I mean? And you start wowing yourself, and you're like, whoa, hold on. And now you can't get enough, and you're almost overwhelmed with where to go and how to start it, and how do I do this and do that?
Well, the
It's
main
cool,
thing is
though.
that we remember is that it's a spiritual book.
Right.
Off the top, it's God's spiritual word. It's him. It's his actual breath of his word. So when you take that into account, and you actually invite the Holy Spirit to be the teacher of it, then you start to the veil just starts to open up just a little bit, just enough for you to start understanding a little bit more. And that's the beauty of it, is as you read, the more will be revealed. You know what I mean? It's not going to give it to you full blast, because then you wouldn't know what to do. None of us would know how to comprehend the whole thing.
Right.
So it's definitely giving it to us in milk form first. We start to read, and then just start to understand the word. But before you read, we should always definitely invite the Holy Spirit that's in us already to help us understand the word.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. That's and that's a good thing, because even it's weird though, but it's a trip, because for me, when we were talking about this stuff, this topic that we brought up right quick, the reason I wanted to do this topic, and it could be freelance topics when we get on here. Really, that's how I probably see this going. But this was one of the ones I've been wanting to do a video on for a while now. I just haven't really found the right person type of thing. But anyways, the thing is when I feel like when you figure out the difference of that addictive personality feeling, it just it starts coming to you, all of it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's hard to explain, like addiction. So like when you're done, and the people that are watching this know when you're done, right? Like
Yeah.
you know you're done. You know I'm fed up. I'm not, no matter what, I'm not doing this. Now there is these people that put themselves in situations. That's why I always tell everybody when they get on here, I'm like, you gotta be surrounded. You gotta have a perfect square. You gotta have good foundation. You know what I mean?
Good
And
people around
and
you.
good people around you. You're only
You're
good as the
hanging around
company
with
you keep. You know
Yep,
what I mean?
yep. You hang around
So
with people that are doing silly stuff, it's a matter of time.
it's not a bad thing to check your friends,
Yeah,
is where I was going with this. It doesn't have to be in a rude way. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, I'm just saying, like, if you see something funky style, you would tell me.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Hey, bro, you're tripping, like, or you're buying too much stuff, or you're doing this.
That's
Even if it might hurt your feelings, like,
yeah,
I think once you start noticing what you're doing wrong, and you can fix it, and knowing that because of the fact that we were addicts, we have this personality.
yeah,
You know what I mean? We can pick up this trait. And I know somebody watching this is going through that right now. Like, oh yeah, I'm clean now, but God, like, I have an addiction, fixing this or fixing that. And that's my thing. Like, I like to stay busy. I don't like to be in my own head sometimes.
yeah,
But now, instead of doing that, I'm like reading, podcasting.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But I think it's overwhelming sometimes with that addictive stuff. Like, it really is, because uh and once you start noticing, you don't have to, you can literally, like, it's hard to explain. Like, you don't have that urge to want to do stuff like that, like, no more. Like if I notice I'm doing something wrong, I'm like,
yeah,
hold on. Like, I went to go out and even fix my car the other day, for instance. Like, it was a couple days ago. I was like, dude came over to buy Nikki's car, and I was like, he's like, hey, he goes, let's take a look at it. And I was like, I took off the thing, and I was like, man, this thing's pretty. Like, I wanted to jump back into it. I'm like, nah.
yeah,
Pulled the cover. I said, hey, when it's time, it's time. I'm not, where was it? It's winter time. I'm not doing that with it. Because I already know it's just another project. I don't even want to be involved in it right now. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
But before, that's how it was. I
yeah.
would jump into it, and it's always more, more, more.
Yeah, well, that's that addictive the addictive personality is always comes from what I'm starting to figure out is that we're always looking for something to medicate what's going on inside us,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter if it comes from drugs, alcohol, all these different things that we already mentioned, pornography, um, gambling. You're always trying to fill a hole that's inside of you, um, and you just don't know how to fill it because you don't know what to fill it with, and everything you put in there is just a temporary fix. You
Hmm.
run up to the casino, it's temporary. Um, you get high, it's temporary. You drink, it's temporary. You're back to the same problem the next day, and that's where it gets to. The moral of the story of any addiction problems, is once you read the word and you fill that hole with the word of God, uh, through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that you start to fill it with a much solider filling. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting now. I don't need anybody or anything. It's getting to that point that I don't need all these temporary satisfactions. Um, I feel content with reading. I love the path that it brings me, the clarity that it brings me. Of course, I get attacked, but it's just a much better and safer place.
Safer.
You know what I mean?
Safer. That's,
Because I know when I'm trying to fill that pot, fill that hole in my heart with other things, it never fills. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It
it's
never, it
always
never.
empty,
It,
right?
there's always something else, and I address my addiction to drugs. I address my other addictions that I've had, and then the gambling one, and it's always something else that I need to fill it with. And this last run, I've been filling it with the word, and should have been here a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. Well, I'll go ahead and close this up. We've been on here for like 20 minutes. That's probably good for our first video, just to kind of give an introduction for all this. And then we'll our next video, maybe we get some comments and see what we can bring up, or maybe we'll just open a table topic.
Yeah, go
Or
live. Let's get some
go
people talking.
Yeah, and then we'll get some questions and answers. Maybe we'll post this up. I'll get this up hopefully tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll get this up, or maybe tonight, get this posted up, and then you guys comment on it, and let us know what you want to talk about. If we could even get a little hat with a bunch of topics in it, and just pull it out and start talking about them.
Yep, yep, yep.
But yeah, no, we could take some questions and answers, stuff like that. That would be pretty cool for some people to jump on and do that. We like to talk anyways. At least I do.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
enjoyed the conversation, and I
yeah,
think even down the pipe a little bit, maybe we should even bring in older kids that have sat back and watched us go through the changes that we've been through, and maybe we could change them before they follow in our same footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I agree. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go, and then we will see you next time.